Hello and welcome to Caching Waves. Today we're going to be looking at Bitcoin. I wanted to go over the last analysis and kind of take a deep dive of what could potentially be happening here and look at some Fibonacci levels, some extensions to see what's possible just over the last week's price movement. Now, first of all, just quickly on the daily, I have this as either a 1 or an A wave and a complex correction looking to complete between the 50 and the 618 of this wave here. Still anticipating this B or X wave up between the 50 and the 618 of this down move here. Reason I don't see this as completed is I can't get 5 waves out of it without making it look really ugly and stretching my counts. So let's get down to the 4 hourly here. First of all, have this as a WXY forming out. I had a 3-wave W, expanded flat for X, and a 3-wave down here for an A or W wave, looking for a B or X wave up before we make a 5-wave down or a 3-wave down. If we get a flat, we'd get 5 waves. If we get a Y wave, we'd get a 3-wave pattern of some sort. Now, going off the last video, I had a long from this area, just to update. I had a long from this area. We rode that long up to here, and then I raised my stop up to this level, and I got triggered on my stop into profit. That was my entry here. Got stopped out in profit. Unfortunately, didn't get that move we were looking for. Had this potentially as a running flat and was hoping to get some follow through right here from this area to come up for 5. I alternately told you that if we do fail here, most likely coming down to the 382 to the 618 of this new proposed ABC before making a attempt to a new high above this W wave. Well, there's so many options here, but I just wanted to show you a couple levels, okay? First of all, I was expecting at least a 1-to-1 here, where this could become a running flat before further downside, because we came kind of into no man's area between the 618 and the 1-to-1 of this W wave here off the B wave, right in between no man's land. So I started to consider, just wanted to give you my thought process here. So I started to consider, okay, is this a wave 1 and then we get a expanded flat or a expanded WXY for a 2 wave? Like so. Is this a 1 and then we get an expanded WXY here and then we're coming down for a 3rd? A couple things with that is, if that's the case, let's get rid of all these. We pull our pivots from this wave and we've come past the 618. So it didn't come between the 50 and the 618, which is the most probable area we would expect that to come. And also in our expanded flat version, we'd take our pivots, our A off our B. I'm just doing this roughly, but it's a similar area. We'd expect our pretty extreme area to be the 1.618 for our C wave here. And you can see it came, looks like the 2.236, which is a very odd fib level to hit. Our A wave off our B wave. Again, it's a guideline, but it just seems Very wonky, these levels we're hitting currently. And then I considered, okay, is this going to turn into a triangle? Because we have a series of three-wave pattern where you get a running triangle, A, B, C, D, and E, something like this. This seems one of the most likely if we're going to fail to get that next move up and we go to downside after that, in which case this would become, we'd look for, again, 3 or 5 waves, but off this level here to the downside. This is where Elliott wave can become tough. When there's so many options available and nothing seems to be hitting where the most reasonable areas are. Fib levels aren't hitting, we're not hitting targets like we should, so when that happens you have to consider, okay, maybe we're still in some sort of long complex correction. So that's one I'm going to be keeping an eye on. I'm going to leave that one up for now. And the other reason I don't think this is really a running flat and we've completed here, where our W would go over here, or sorry, our WXY would finish here, is because we didn't hit that 1-to-1 and we also didn't hit the 1-to-1 in time, the A wave off this B wave. We're coming to the 1-to-1 here, that's the extension here. Usually C waves take longer, or Y waves take longer than W waves. So again, another thing just outside of our guidelines. Our fib level didn't hit properly, time didn't hit properly. A lot of different things not hitting the way we would expect. So I'm going to keep an eye on this triangle, but my bias still leans towards this move here. I believe we have to come down a little bit, but this move here is what I'm looking for. But if we come down and we make that D wave and come lower than expected, then I will highly consider that. And I'll probably do some sort of hedge trade just to make sure I get both sides. Zooming in even closer, there's 2 ways to count this. Again, I'm just showing you how complex Elliott wave can become, but just zoom out and take a look at what can be going on, and kind of evaluate the best setup you can get at the moment. And sometimes that's no setup at all. So this hit a common target, the 618 extension for an A, B, C. Off the A wave from the B, we hit the 6.618 extension. You can also count this where the C wave ended here, and this became an ending diagonal here. I don't like that as much just because it was so short and it's really hard to see any wave separation in there. But again, perfectly valid. The C wave could come over here, but it makes a big difference on what's going on in this area where you have the C wave. So this would be the triangle version here, over here. I'll leave that there. And the reason I mention this is if your C wave is here, then we have a flat filling out A, B, and we're looking for 5 waves down here. It'd have to be a 1, 2, 1, 2, still working on a 3, 4, and 5. If you separate those, you can see the 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5. So still a little bit ways to go for that to complete as an expanded flat. And if I run extensions on this, you can see that lines us up closely to the 1.618 extension. You can get right on those pivots, pull off that, and that's a common area. So maybe this ends up making some sort of lighter retracements and we just peek through the 1.618 there at the between the 50 and the 618 of this 3-wave move. That's where I pulled that from. So that one would line up in that area. I'm going to get those right on the pivots. And we'll check between log and linear as well, just to see which one makes most sense based on the current count. Whoa, sorry. I know this is going to be a little bit longer video, but I really want you to grasp how to work on these in real time. So our 1.618 would be there at 26,224.77, and on log scale we get a little lower, so it might be a log scale one. Again, it could just be finished here, and we can move our C over, and this is just a WXY where we get a double zigzag. But anywhere in this area, I would expect, if we're going to get that next move up, to pivot soon. Again, within these areas here are the most common. And if we're going to get that triangle, we'd have to move our C wave over, and it would be the top there in orange, and then we'd probably get, this would be a WXY, and then we'd get a little move up and another zigzag down to the 618 of this move too. So you can see both trade setups kind of come into that area. The Y wave might take off a little bit earlier to give us a little bit of indication that we're on the right trail. But as of right now, the only kind of bearish setup I see is that triangle. I considered, what if this becomes a ending diagonal in itself? But we've come up very high, and the extensions for that ending diagonal wouldn't line up with my regular extensions, which is the 618 for the third between the 618 and the 786. That's where I'd expect my third to go, somewhere in there. And you can see we don't even bottom out at all. Again, just a guideline, but we got to think forward of where our targets would be. We'd have to hit probably the 1-to-1, and all that would look like is 3 waves here, 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 and we'd bottom way earlier than expected between our 50 and the 618 there. You can see how far away we would be from there. Alternately, that would probably just be a wave 1 of our C wave or Y wave in an ABC, but yeah, a lot of potential here happening. So I think what I'm going to do personally is keep that triangle in mind, but also trade for this 5 wave in the C or another zigzag potential for a Y wave. So I'm going to take a buy at the 382 and the 50 and the 618. I'm going to split it up into thirds. I just hope I don't miss this if it has finished and this is counted differently than I have it counted, which would be at least 2 more waves down to complete. But I'm going to take a long there. Stop's going to go at this low. To show you the setup here, if I can get an average price there, stop's going to go at this low. Targeting up between the 50 and the 618. of this down move right here, targeting between that area. And just for fun, just to see if we can extend it out here, let me get rid of the one. Just leave that target there. It's 1.618, extend the line. That yellow. Just so I can keep an eye on that area. So say we do pivot in that area, I'm curious if that move takes us up into the zone at the 1-to-1 extension. So let's just free ball that for now. Put our high on that one. Let's see where that gets us. That gets us right there at 28,903 if it hit perfectly on that 1.618 extension, and this count is correct where our A wave is here and we're making a expanded flat. So that looks good to me. Again, alternately, we'd come lower and look for this triangle. It could even become a barrier triangle, come down all the way down to here. But I think what I'll do is I'm going to take that long, and depending what, if we launch off of there, something similar to this, a quick move to the upside, I'll let that run. But if we grind sideways, something like this, we just grind, I might consider leaving this trade in, raising my stops a bit, probably to break even if I get the buys in this zone, and then I would consider hedging with a short, with a stop above this level, considering the fact that we might get that triangle. Again, we'd be going all the way down here, so it'd be probably a 7-8-to-1 trade setup, and we'd just let that triangle fill out. So I think that's what I'm going to do. If I get that buy, the 382, the 50, and the 618, I'm going to play that long up to here, look to take profit at the 1-to-1. Becomes right in the zone we'd expect between the 1.236 and 382. But if we start to grind sideways, whenever this down move ends, if it looks like it's going to be a triangle, I would take my entry at the same levels, 382, the 50, and the 618. And take that setup there somewhere here. Something like that. So I'll have two trades in, but that's how I'm going to trade this one. It's very hard to get any count that feels very highly probable at the moment, but my bias is still upside just based on everything I showed you. None of the fibs lining up. Even as an ending diagonal, this isn't dropping as fast as I would like it to. Third waves usually take less time than the first wave, and as you can see, we're kind of grinding sideways here. We'd expect it to fall a little faster. Again, I don't expect this to be a flat because we didn't even reach the 1-to-1. So my bias is still the same that I showed you last week if this trade didn't fill out the way we hoped. So that's what I'm looking at, guys. Going to be taking a long here, and depending on the reaction, again, depending on the reaction of what we get on the pivot, if we get a strong move, I won't take the short. But when we do pivot, if we just get a sideways grind, really deep retracements, something like this, then I'll look to hedge short, but leave my long open and move my stop at the low. Okay, let me know if you guys enjoy this longer form content, because it's good to understand how to look at Elliott wave and consider the different options and use your extensions and fib levels to, kind of eliminate the outliers that are possible but way more unlikely. But yeah, let me know what you think of this video. If you have any comments or questions, Feel free to ask anything you want to add, me to add to videos. And make sure to check out my other videos. And remember, this isn't financial advice. I just show you my view of the market and tell you what I am doing. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.